think the work is, when you look at it, the development in skin and shaders and fur is just outstanding. It is incredibly sad that it's all gone, all that grooming and all that pipeline. It's all kind of dead. So if they do another...
and of course the tools might have fallen by the wayside, but the artistry remains from the artists that are still out there. And I think, we realize that. We're not saying that it's just push the button and it makes this fur happen or anything like that. But yeah, it's devastating that this keeps happening in the industry.
Yeah.
And that all that work kind of just almost disappears. This podcast is brought to you by Befores and Afters magazine. Befores and Afters magazine is the monthly print mag from VFX journalist Ian Fales. Go in-depth on key visual effects topics with major VFX supervisors, artists and studios. Each issue covers a different area like creature animation, miniatures, on-set VFX and VFX tools. Find your copy at beforesandafters.com/magazine.
This podcast is also brought to you by Hugo's Desk Nuke Compositing course. Join today to have access to 150 pre-recorded classes, 50 hours of training, using real production assets covering industry standard techniques with over 200 gigs of showreel material and access to a private Discord channel with over 2,300 students. This course is endorsed by Foundry and has access to a Foundry student license paid separately. Join today at hugosdesk.myshopify.com. And now on to the show.
Hi everyone, I'm Ian Fales from Befores and Afters, and I'm joined by Hugo Guerra from Hugo's Desk. Hi Hugo.
Hi everyone.
And today we're going to be talking about Mufasa, the Lion King, as part of our season of films that made it to the Visual Effects Oscar Bake-Off this past year, but then didn't go on to be nominated for an Oscar. And so we always start with a look at the film and what we thought about it. Hugo, I'm going to you because I know that you're a big fan of Mufasa. A big fan.
Hey, you know me. I love musicals, love people singing for no fucking reason whatsoever. I love it. It's my favorite thing ever. Yeah, so hear me out. Like, I was not expecting much. But when I read that Barry Jenkins was the director, I was like, oh man, I love Moonlight. I mean, this should be good, right? It wasn't. Like, it's not a very good movie. The movie is, I fell asleep twice watching it. I just found it really tedious, and the singing was just like completely just started singing for no reason whatsoever. The film was just like a bit of a chore for me to watch. Now, I did not watch The Lion King before, so I only watched this for this episode because it was part of the Bake-Off. And then you told me like, oh, you should watch the other one, and I was like, oh, so it's connected because it has a different name. I had no idea what this was, so I was like, oh, so it's the same thing. And then we talked a little bit about it, and it turns out it's like a prequel sequel, this one. And so I went back and watched the original, The Lion King, already knowing the original Lion King, the one from the 90s. That one I know really well. Really loved that movie. When I was a kid, I really loved that movie. Really enjoyed the Jon Favreau 2019 Lion King. Really enjoyed that movie. I thought the movie was outstanding, and it was really good. And I think not really sure why people criticize it so much at the time, because I think it's a really, really good movie. And so I'm really not sure what happened here. Maybe you can explain to me and tell me what happened. But what happened? Because this is not as good, and it's just a bit weird, this movie. Do you like it, Ian? Like, well, what happened? Tell me things.
Okay, I'm a bit like you. I am obsessed with the 1994 2D animated Lion King.
It's a fantastic movie.
The 2019 one is fascinating because it was swept up in the power of virtual production
Yeah.
right? Or all the virtual production that was happening at the time, and essentially Rob Legato, the visual effects supervisor, was sort of leading that and making that happen in a big way. And MPC did an amazing job with the creatures and environments and really took advantage of, physically plausible rendering. And there was something pretty magical about The Lion King 2019, except for lip sync and singing. There is something, well, no, that's not quite right. Not quite the lip sync, but the emotion of the characters in the 2019 film. In the 1994 film, when Simba's happy, he really smiles and they do a lot that they do with 2D. It's like the filmmakers had made a decision in the 2019 one to keep them looking realistic as much as possible, right? Yeah. So they don't smile and they don't do like one eyebrow type things that animated characters do. In fact, I've got a slightly funny story about that. I went to visit Rob Legato in LA before the film was finished, and he showed me this sequence from the film. And, they had this capture studio in LA and then a screening room. And I watched the sequence and I thought it was amazing. And then I said, and it had some singing in it. And then I said, I'm curious, Rob, like the characters don't emote. What are you doing about that? Because I actually thought it wasn't finished yet. And he said, no, that's finished. That's done. We're finished. And then it's not that I didn't like that. It's just that I thought, I reckon the audience is going to find that a bit something, right? And in fact, it's true. That was one of the criticisms of the 2019 Lion King, that the characters didn't emote enough because they were going for something more photoreal. Now, here's the thing. The film made $1 billion. Yeah, so who cares, right? They had to make a sequel or prequel. And so when it came to Mufasa, I also loved Hugo, the choice of the director, because I'm obsessed with Moonlight.
Yeah.
And maybe Barry Jenkins can input some sort of more deep emotional whatnot into the film. As an experience, I enjoyed it. I thought it's always fun to see a musical because I tend to like musicals. I don't think the songs are nearly as memorable as the original Lion King ones.
No, of course not. Of course not. I mean, are you kidding? Elton John's song, it's impossible to it's to a higher bar, and we are from that generation. We know those songs by heart. Even I don't like musicals. I know those songs. I know those songs because it's so ingrained in your mind,
But the real problem is here they try and wedge a story into the existing story about two brothers. Yeah. When we're meant to remember that Scar is evil, right? And so the brother who Scar becomes is Tucker, right? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting my
Tucker.
names.
Yeah, it's Tucker, yeah.
I personally didn't feel like they made that out enough that he would become evil Scar. And sure, Scar's jealous and all this sort of thing, that still's to happen. And all of that is a little bit Star Warsy. Did they make Anakin bad enough to become Darth Vader? That sort of thing. I just didn't think it worked. Now, here's the interesting thing. Mufasa opened in late 2024 with a really poor opening weekend.
Yeah.
And now it's made something like $700 million.
Yeah.
Right? And kids love the songs.
Of course they do.
Kids are obsessed with I Always Wanted a Brother or whatever that song is. And so there are things Disney and the filmmakers do where they know more than we know, Hugo.
Of course. Now I know. I don't know anything about musicals, so I would never know that, of course.
But I just think also, if you're a kid, you can kind of relate to the brother thing and the parents and, the journey that they go on. As a film, I just thought there were some weird plot things that kind of I could never get around. They also make it a really big deal that Mufasa hates water because of one traumatic thing. And then also he falls into this crazy waterous, cavernous thing in Pride Rock. Like, where did that come from? Like, that was just sort of suddenly there. Anyway, there were things in the film that I couldn't get past. In terms of how it looks and everything, I just thought MPC did an amazing job, right? And they really did pull out all stops to do this film. You're probably going to tell me some of the camera choices and things like that.
No, I'm not. No,
were a bit bizarre.
I'm not.
But I really liked what MPC did on the film. But yeah, go.
Before we even talk about the cameras and about the VFX, like, I just wanted to just put one thing out there. Now that I've watched both, nothing will beat the original 90s film. I think it is a masterpiece. It's, in my opinion, I'm not entirely sure we needed to have a remake. But I understand they want to make live action remakes for all the movies. They did it with Aladdin. I didn't thought that was either good as well. So I kind of feel like I understand.
$1 billion.
They need to make money. That's okay. That's they do what they do. You do you. But I didn't particularly thought it was necessary to do a movie. And I always look at the movie. The film looks outstanding and looks amazing. The first one, The Lion King. But then I always look back and think, the other one is better. So why am I watching this one? It's the songs are the same. It's a bit like, I'll just watch the other one. The other one is better. And then Mufasa comes, and if I already thought that we didn't need the Lion King, why do we even need a sequel to a film that I didn't thought it was needed in the first place?
It's a prequel, remember?
It's a prequel sequel. It's kind of both at the same time. But I really struggled. I already told you this. But regarding the VFX, no disrespect to MPC. Rest in peace. I know they're gone, but no disrespect to MPC. I really liked the VFX from the first Lion King, and I think it's really curious because I paused multiple shots and I even did side by sides, and I really wanted to get the bottom of this because didn't really understand why I reacted so poorly to the VFX of Mufasa, but I thought the ones from Lion King looked so good because they're 6 years older. And I then realized that it's nothing to do with the render quality or nothing to do with the skin. Yes, the skin looks worse on the original film. Yes, the fur is not as detailed. Everything is, of course, a bit less because it's 6 years ago, and the new one should look better. I think it's the lighting. The lighting on the original movie is outstanding. The lighting and the moods and the magic hour, and the sun is always really low, and there's these oranges and this kind of low light. It just looks absolutely stunning, and it looks photoreal. Mufasa, it's kind of feels like a 12 o'clock film in the middle of the afternoon the whole time, and I just don't think it makes the CG look better.
I'm aware of that, but I think there's a reason, or two reasons.
Okay.
One is Barry Jenkins and the DOP as well, in this Mufasa, they move the camera so much.
Yeah.
I think there is an always moving camera, and it is possibly because they could move the camera, right? Because it's a virtual camera, obviously. So that's one thing, and I think that moves more than Lion King.
Yeah.
The second thing is there are so many different environments. So whereas on the first Lion King, you really are in the sort of Pride Lands, and then you're in the more desert area, and they do go to the rainforesty place, of course. That's about it. In this film, they're in Pride Lands, they're in the rainforest, they're in snow, they're in rocky mountainous stuff, they're in water. There's a visual consistency that gets lost, I think, with having so many environments. It might look pretty, and I think it looks amazing, by the way, but it just means there's sort of less consistency. Like, what film are we in now? You know.
Yeah.
And I think also that is a detriment to the plot because you're sort of told that Mufasa gets washed away. But, like, it must have been washed away for weeks and weeks and weeks.
No, it's
weeks,
like, how
goes
far is
through
it? I know.
a lot
How
of
far
environments to get back to Pride Rock, right? Like, you really, I don't know. That was just one of the plot things that got me.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, Hugo, whether that's part of the challenge is that when you make it, say you go out to make an animated, CG animated film, a production designer would love to have so many different environments to stage different pieces of the story at. But in Africa and in the world of The Lion King, Mufasa, I just thought there were too many.
Yeah.
So it was sort of harder to ground you into one place.
It's fascinating that you're saying about that, about that you think it's maybe the quantity of environments and also the camera not stopping. There's some really clever things on the camera, like they attach the camera rig to some of the animals. Sometimes it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's some cool stuff there, but I'm just speculating, of course, because I don't know what happened. But the original movie is done by Jon Favreau, which is very well known by doing VFX films, like Iron Man and Jungle Book and all those movies, and of course Mandalorian. He's a seasoned director handling VFX, and also the DOP of the original Lion King, Caleb Deschanel, is also a seasoned DOP of VFX films. You have, Jack Reaper and Abraham Lincoln and Spiderwick Chronicles and all sorts of movies that have a lot of VFX, even The Passion of the Christ, which has a lot of VFX as well. So it's a seasoned person that has known how to do VFX. This is just speculation, of course, but when I look at the filmography of James Laxton, which is the DOP of Moonlight and the DOP of Mufasa, there is not a single VFX-driven movie on his career. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know how to deal with it. I just sometimes noticed that certain directors and DOPs, when it's the first time they're doing it, they somehow overdo it. And I kind of feel these camera works are a bit overdone. They're a bit like, oh my God, look at the stuff I can do, and I'm just going to do it all the time. And there's no restraint on anything. And the film doesn't look like there's any restraint with the camera movement whatsoever. I think it's just
it's a hard thing to do on a Disney musical when you have scenes that turn into songs and the characters are essentially need to cross the screen and do that sort of thing.
They did it fine on The Lion King in 2019. I just feel that there's so much restraint on that movie.
Sure.
The camera moves and the angles, and it's so, I hate this word, but it's so cinematic, the other one. So cinematic. It looks like a film. You're watching it, it's a movie. Like, okay, it's a normal movie with normal wides and normal half shots and normal American plates. It's just a regular traditional language of cinema. This is sometimes, I love video games, but sometimes it looks like a video game. It's a bit too much on this movie, and it doesn't help the CG. I don't think it helps the CG, even though it looks better in terms of quality of the skin and the shaders and the hair. If the lighting is not there and the camera work is not there, there's no CG. You can't do anything about the CG. Like, it's not going to really gel together as a cohesive thing. And I think that's why I reacted a bit badly.
Yeah.
And again, I don't mean any disrespect to MPC and everyone that lost their job and probably worked their ass off trying to do this.
Look, that's obviously one of the very sad things about this film is that the film has come out and then Technicolour has collapsed this year. So we want to make sure we say congratulations to everyone who worked on the film at MPC. And, what's really interesting is they really controlled the process this time around. They were the vendor last time. But interestingly, on Lion King, the virtual production was handled by Magnopus. In LA at this specially set up capture area where they actually used Unity to drive their tools for, basically virtual cameras and scouting and whatnot. This time, MPC controlled everything and was doing that in Unreal Engine. And I think that made the process easier for MPC because all the scouting, previs, virtual tool set, virtual camera stuff is done in Unreal and then could be sort of directly brought in to MPC's pipeline. And they actually built some amazing tools that let them do that. Even ones that let them output renders back into Unreal Engine so that they could continue that sort of virtual process. So that what I'm getting at also is I'm really sad that MPC developed all these tools
and it's
that
gone.
have now kind of disappeared essentially.
I mean, they probably, for the creditors, they probably sold all the servers. It's all gone. It's like it's probably the pipeline doesn't work anymore unless they've sold it specifically, but they most likely didn't, unless Disney owns it, of course. But it is very sad.
Well, that's part of it.
But I also don't think, as I was saying, like MPC is not, just because I don't think the lighting is looking doesn't look as good as the first film, and the camera work doesn't look as good as the first film, I don't think it has nothing to do with MPC. That's a director thing, and that's a production thing. I mean, the VFX artists are not going to come up with the cameras or coming up to the lighting. VFX artists, or like a military institution, they follow rules. And so anyone told them to do that, and they did it. I'm sure it comes from the director. All of that comes from the director and the DOP and all the work. So I think the work is, when you look at it, the development in skin and shaders and fur is just outstanding. It is incredibly sad that it's all gone, all that grooming and all that pipeline. It's all kind of dead. So if they do another...
and of course the tools might have fallen by the wayside, but the artistry remains from the artists that are still out there. And I think, we realize that. We're not saying that it's just push the button and it makes this fur happen or anything like that. But it's devastating that this keeps happening in the industry. Yeah. And that all that work kind of just almost disappears. What I think is amazing is the film has done so well. Yeah. And that's, must make the MPC artists feel pretty good. But unfortunately, another film that came out recently, Snow White, isn't doing so well. Yeah. So that's it's again the same conversation that I often have on my radio show, on my streams, and also I have on my live streams on YouTube. This is the same conversation I always have with the people there. It is really sad that these movies make almost $1 billion and the VFX vendor goes out of business. It's just really, there's something really wrong with the business model, because we've had this before multiple times. In fact, and because this time they were almost nominated for the Oscar. If they would have been nominated, it would have been really, really the same as Life of Pi. It would have been a situation like that. Because it was a similar situation where Life of Pi was nominated. They ended up winning the Oscar and they were bankrupt. And the movie also made a bunch of money. And all that money never seems to go back to the vendors or to the companies, ever. Not even a percentage of it. I really feel that we desperately need to reinvent the business model where we have royalties and we have sharing of profits, and there is no other way to prevent these things. Like if even they have gotten like 8% of the profit of the box office, they would have been probably getting almost 100 million. It's just the way we're doing these projects is really not beneficial to the VFX vendors. It's only beneficial for the studios and the shareholders of the studios, which is sad, because the film is just going to make even more money on Blu-ray and on digital and on Disney Plus now. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's a very real part of being a service industry. I know.
That's why it has to stop being a service industry. It has to become like a partnership industry or an IP industry. That's the only way.
Not to talk too much about this, Hugo, but
Yeah,
I
of course.
think they've tried, and visual effects doesn't have the power.
No,
And part of that is a historical union problem.
I know.
And part of it is the globalization of it. So if a American-based visual effects studio rose up and demanded this, the studios may well just go somewhere else. And I sound a bit dour about it, but only because we do talk about it quite a lot.
I know.
And there's no...
And hey, we talked about it on every radio show I do on YouTube. Like, I know. It's always the same conversation. Didn't mean to drag the conversation, but I would assume that we would have talked about MPC at some point during this conversation, because that's the studio that made the film. But I leave you with a quote from one of my favorite movies, called called Sexy Beast. You've seen Sexy Beast, right?
Seen every Jonathan Glazer thing there is.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I know the film by heart. And there's a part of the movie that they're thinking if they should rob this place or not. And the guy just turns and just says, if there is a will, and there is a fucking will, there is a way. I always think about the black magic dude saying this. And I always feel that if there is a will, man, and there is a fucking will, this could work. Like there must be a way for it to work, and we haven't gotten there yet, but I think we will. And hopefully maybe other companies like MPC don't have to close doors in the future,
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I've really hearts out to the MPC artists on this film, but they did an amazing job. Before we wrap up, I just want to quickly mention one cool tech that I reckon would have got a lot more airplay if the film had been nominated for a visual effects Oscar. In some ways, it seemed to sort of not be talked about that much, which is this thing MPC implemented called quad cap.
Yeah.
And they were already using some performers in motion capture suits during the staging process, right? Because Barry wanted to be on set filming something with a virtual camera. And so they're already having stand-in performers who are bipedal, standing in for animals. MPC developed a system where a person in a motion capture suit could perform the role, and then using some real-time tools, the 4 legs of a lion, could be superimposed on that motion capture from the human, and they called it quad cap. But it wasn't just like a simple realization of it. It was something that took into account the mechanics of rear leg motion and allowed the DOP, the filmmakers, to see it in real time, so that they could see what these lions look like interacting with each other. And I was kind of surprised that it hasn't been done before. And it may well have been done in a simpler way. But I thought that was a really cool thing that they seem to use here to help Barry visualize the scenes.
And do you think this technology was developed in-house with no other part connected? Like, you think it's dead inside MPC, or do you think it was with some partnership with other people as well? Or you know anything about it?
MPC put in many entries. They actually did get nominated in Best Visual Effects for a photoreal feature, and for Best Character or Most Outstanding Character in a photoreal feature. So there are, if you're in the Visual Effects Society, there are ways to look at those breakdowns.
Yeah.
And they deal with quad cap, and they deal with all the other amazing things that MPC did there. But probably because of the release date of the film, which is, closer to Christmas, and probably because Technicolour was falling over, there hasn't been a lot of breakdowns out there. I would say this, Hugo, stay tuned to befores and afters, and that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. I can't wait for that. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sad that it didn't really came out like that, because you're right. Like, I've heard about that technology from the real time pad cam, and I heard about the fur technology as well that they were developing, and a lot of the rendering achievements and a lot of the developments and the really like advancements they did from the original film all the way up to this one, because it's been an ongoing thing inside MPC, you know, from all the way going from Jungle Book, Lion King, and now Mufasa. The way that they've been handling these kind of environments and grass and also like vegetation and fur, all of that. So it's heartbreaking, man. It's really heartbreaking.
I just, actually, if you really think about it, MPC was an incredible character shop.
Yeah.
So we know that, but they had taken strides in the use of things like Houdini for environment builds that I don't feel like every other visual effects studio had done as much as they had done, especially even since Lion King. And then rendering is another thing. They were become one of these main render man shops. And just look at Lion King and the films that came out since then. I think MPC was really doing cool things there.
Yeah.
And so, it just makes it even more sad.
I know
that they won't be doing those things anymore.
I know. But hey, at least from all three, Micros apparently got sold and got bought up. So at least one of the three companies will survive from MPC and the Mill and from Technicolour, I mean. So Micros Animation at least got bought. So at least there's like some silver lining, I guess. Something came out of it and something will continue from the legacy of those three amazing companies. But yeah, it's sad that the other ones didn't.
Well, there's the Mill in North America is also now.
Yeah, but it's not called the
So-
Mill. So it's what I mean is like Macros Animation is going to become Macros Animation. I think the Mill is just the same people. It's a bit similar thing with Milk when they left the Mill film and then they made Milk. Yeah, man, it's depressing times here in the UK. But hey, I think things are livening up, especially now. It's just been announced that there's a huge tax relief break for the creative industry in the UK for the next 9 years. Just started into effect on the 1st of April. I think it goes all the way to 40%. And that should boost the industry quite a lot, at least here. It's sad that it came kind of like a little bit too late for MPC, The Mill, Technicolour, and also Jellyfish. Like all those companies kind of broke down before this came through. Could have helped probably, but at least it's here to stay, and it will help the companies that are still here. And at least it's 9 years. It's good. Like it's gonna. I think it's gonna develop a bit.
Yeah, I'm not being like down on it, but everyone needs to remember, of course, this money doesn't come to the visual effects studio. It's actually
I know
the production studio that gets the rebate. But of course, it means to keep work in the UK or wherever.
Exactly,
the tax
because the
incentive
rules of this rebate, I've read all about it, of course, because I have a company in the VFX. I have a company in the UK, so I'm reading to see if I can do it as well. And it has these really strict rules where you have to have 50% of VFX done here in the UK, and then if you do 80% of VFX here, you get even more credits and you get even more. And so there's a nice touch there where you at least will give more business to the local companies here in the UK, which is good news for the companies that live here. I know what you mean.
Yeah. Oh, well, Hugo, that wraps up our slightly depressing chat about Mufasa. I hope we are appreciating the artist. I mean, showing that we definitely appreciate the artist's work here. But we're devastated about what's happened with Technicolour and MPC.
Yeah.
And if someone wants to explain a bit more of the plot of Mufasa to me with any comments, please go ahead. But Hugo, always really fun chatting about these films with you. Thank you so much.
Cool, man. I'll see you later. Thanks everyone. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.